So, welcome back to Mixed Media Live. If you weren't here for the live stream, last thing that we just heard was Ben describing his experiences watching the Black Panther score live, which sounded pretty freaking awesome. So if you want to hear about how that was, check out the prior episode. Yes. So for now, though, what I'm going to be doing is reacting to hot takes that they picked for me. So Ben gave me two different ones, which is kind of a nice out because I hadn't found myself one yet. So I'm going to react to both of his, and I'm going to react to Nathan's as well. But before we get started, I just want to say that we want to get to live streaming on Rumble, which is currently our biggest platform. So you guys there on Rumble, you guys are awesome, but you guys click on the videos, you watch the videos. The first thing I want you to do more than anything is to comment. You guys hit the like button just fine. That's perfect on Rumble. But I would like you to comment. But the second thing that you could help us do is to get live on Rumble, which for now costs money. And I'm not sure when they'll roll it out for free. At the pace that they're going in terms of the tiers that they keep crossing, it might be a year or more. Who knows? But I would like to be the premier live podcast, and for that, we need your help. So if you go to mixedmedia.locals.com, the link is also in the description / I never point in the right direction. On the right of the screen there's a link on the screen. If you go there, you'll find our locals page. I'd like to shout out the one person who joined our locals page. I know you didn't subscribe, but I just think it's awesome that you're joining there. This is P. Ferguso. It's probably Ferguson is your last name is what I'm going to guess. But welcome to our... Ferguso. Welcome to the locals page. I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to make this a permanent thing. So this is the first. I'm going to update the locals page whenever I get a chance. I've been really busy lately, so it's been hard to manage things in general. But I'm going to make this live whiteboard on this side of the screen here. At the lowest tier, you get lifetime access to this whiteboard. But the only caveat is that you have to respect the whiteboard, right? You can't do anything inappropriate or anything like that. Then I'm going to have to ban you from the whiteboard, unfortunately. But if you join at the lowest tier for the rest of your life, until I change the tier permissions, everyone who joins at that lowest tier gets to scribble, doodle live on the screen. You can tell me I'm stupid. You can disagree in drawing form with the hot takes that are currently happening live. But that whiteboard right there, here, I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you right now. It's as simple as me going onto my iPad and going, hello. There we are.
All the audio-only people are very confused.
Yeah, well, this is more for live people than it is for those audio people anyway. But yeah, if you're on audio only, what I'm talking about is there's a live whiteboard on our live platforms, which are YouTube and Twitch as of now. But yes, if you join, we can also be on Rumble. And that's my pitch for the day. Okay, so without further ado, we'll do the hot takes of the week. So let's see what we got here first. I'm going to do Ben's first. Looks like... Okay, I understand what's going on here. I'm going to put this one up. There we go. I'm going to resize this so you can actually look at it. But I think in the title from my front of my seat in the other screenshot of yours, it looks like someone's Stanley Kubrick ranking thing on Letterboxd.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, that's fun. I have not seen all the films on this list, but I've seen more than I remembered, actually. When I looked at it, I was like, huh. Some of them I've seen a long time ago, so I don't know if I can give the most in-depth thoughts, because some of them have been before I've ranked my own films on Letterboxd. But what I can say is it's really cool that you're using Letterboxd. Guess who else is on Letterboxd? This person. If you search IGAROX on Letterboxd, you'll find me, or search my name. I'm pretty sure you'll also find me on Letterboxd. Follow me. I'll follow you back because I'm curious about people's rankings all the time. I will say that my ranking philosophy is a little bit, it's not just pure enjoyment. So, people, the way you rank things, right, is going to determine a lot about your list. So it's kind of hard for me to tell what you're thinking when you put together this list if you're trying to think more of like, what is the, like, some people think about things in terms of exclusively personal. Would I rather watch this movie than something else? Which is a little bit different from saying this movie is better than another movie in like some sort of like quasi-objective sense. So there's many different ways of ranking movies. For me, I include like the for what it is-ism. There are movies that are reaching higher than others, right? But it would be unfair to just trash on a movie that's trying to be a fun kids movie. And it succeeds at that very well, right? So yeah, that's my disclaimer before I react to this. So let me make it big for myself so I can actually see it. So you've got number 1, for those on audio only, number 1 is Doctor Strangelove. Number 2 is The Shining. Number 3 is Barry Lyndon. Number 4 is Paths of Glory. Number 5 is 2001: A Space Odyssey. 6 is Eyes Wide Shut. 7 is Full Metal Jacket. 8 is The Killing. 11 is The Clockwork Orange. 9. I can't count, apparently. 10 is Spartacus. 11 is Lolita. 12 is Killer's Kiss. And 13 is Fear and Desire. So I actually have not seen the majority of these, but I have seen a good bit to understand why this is a hot take. So, yeah. I think I understand. I think I can vibe with some of this, though. Like, I think The Shining is one of his best by a good margin. I think there's like, I don't think. So actually, I'll say this first. I'm not like a huge Stanley Kubrick fan per se. I find his stuff extremely interesting, but I'm not, particularly compelled by his stuff. So this is not coming from a Stanley Kubrick fan perspective, although I respect his work for sure. So The Shining, I think, is an excellent film. 2001: A Space Odyssey being that low is, I think, a hot take. I think people would put that in his top 3. 2001: A Space Odyssey is an amazing film. So I think I disagree with your placement there, just because I think it's so visually compelling. I've never watched something that was so visually compelling, but its story was so kind of, on its own, very spare and like not interesting if I were to explain to you the story of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Despite what all those people say out there about how all these like different theories about all this and that, I think all of that's BS. I'm sorry. The story.
Wait, what theories we're talking about? I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of like, what does this mean? Like isms. I think a lot of it has to do with YouTube.
I've heard lots of people who like want to overanalyze it. Like, is he trying to say something, or is he not trying to say something but saying something at the same time, or does it like really, is it really some gigantic metaphor for something completely unrelated, or does he have some special knowledge about humanity or something like that? Lots of on it.
He's just trying to understand like what he was trying to say with the movie. Is that what's happening? And it's just weird stuff.
I don't think he's really. I think the problem is that he's not trying to say much. But there's so much space in the film for interpretation because of the way it's made that people just try to fill the space, like, with whatever comes to mind. Which, that's fun. Like I'm down with that. I'm not trashing on like alternative theories or anything like that. I just think for this particular film, it's not actually relevant. If you look at his own words about 2001: A Space Odyssey. He doesn't really ascribe the motives that people. I can't remember. There is an interview. It's a telephone interview over the radio, and he says something about. I can't remember what it is, but it kind of destroys a lot of what people say about it. I think it's about the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is trippy, which kind of causes a lot of the theories, but I don't think means as much as people, want to ascribe to it,
or at least maybe that like he wasn't thinking of it on the same level that people are trying to think of it on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot more practical, funnily enough, in terms of what's happening. I mean, what's happening there is kind of just a procession of the story. Like, it's just is what happens to this character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know when I watched it the first time, I got to the end and I was like, what on earth am I watching? But it has that effect, but...
Yeah, it has a very psychedelic ending. I want to watch, there's a film that's like, what is it? Is it Solaris? Oh, man. Ben might know this.
Oh, yes. Solaris is a great film.
I really want to watch it. That's very high on my...
one day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, that's basically Tarkovsky's big important Russian directors, his response to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes, and bring film responses back. Come on, like, it's too rare these days. You got to talk to each other through your films, guys. Like, I love that concept. So I have to watch Solaris. For that's one of the main reasons I want to watch it. And there's also kind of a response in Tree of Life as well, in a way. At the end of Tree of Life, you know, there's a lot of connections with these space films because it's kind of become a tradition amongst directors to make a big, gigantic space narrative something or another at some point. You know, you can think of Christopher Nolan with Interstellar, which is also kind of a response. Like, they're all interacting with each other and speaking to each other about, you know, life, which is kind of what these space movies sort of bring out, as what does life mean questions, you know. So there's this big tradition.
I will say, if you when you get to watch it, the use of music is very interesting. It's almost no music, and it's like, I think there's only one piece of music in it. It gets reused at certain points in the film. It's very interesting.
That is definitely interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I'll now that I've been reminded that I need to watch that, so I might even just buy the Blu-ray right after we get off the stream. So yeah, that I think I disagree with that placement there, because I just think there's some images from that film that are just literally etched into my mind. Like, literally, like, and there's sometimes the most simple images, but it's like something about the composition and just everything about how it's put together, because that's the most interesting part about this movie to me. And I think that a lot of people have that experience with it. I mean, you'll see homages to this movie everywhere, like literally everywhere, in terms of colors, in terms of composition, in terms of reflections, which is one of the biggest tools used by the cinematographer to compose these really immaculate images. Very, very just deliberate and just almost obsessive, you know, in terms of how these reflections will look, the colors that come off. It's just gorgeously made in terms of visuals. So I think I would put 2001: A Space Odyssey actually ahead of The Shining for me personally, because that visual quality is more interesting. And The Shining is also one of those movies that has a lot of over-analysis, just ridiculous amount of over-analysis about The Shining. I guess Stanley Kubrick overall kind of has this, he says not a lot but with a lot, if that makes sense. Like, he's saying not that much but with a lot of theatricalness, and so I think that brings about a lot of this over-analysis. It's also in A Clockwork Orange, which I have not seen yet. But yeah, I mean, the rest of it, like, I mean, Full Metal Jacket, I would also put higher, but that's also, I haven't seen any of the movies in between. Doctor Strangelove, I'm not the biggest. I don't necessarily understand the devotion to that film, so I think it's funny enough, but my comedy, like, tastes are probably too particular for me to enjoy it, is what I presume. Comedy is a thing I need to explore more in general, because I don't know what it is about comedy that trips me up sometimes. But Doctor Strangelove, I respect the film, but I wouldn't put it number one by a long shot. I love the inside jokes though, like the if you know you know jokes in there about like the atmosphere of of the Cold War. I think those are clever. But yeah, I can't really hate on your list because I don't feel strongly about any of these things in general. So I guess that's where I'm at there. So, but thank you for the hot take, and I'll link you to this video afterwards. All right. So let's see. We've got Nathan's, which, Nathan, you want to tell me what this one's about?
If I remember. Hold on, let me. Oh yeah, okay. So the original Reddit post was something about Christopher Nolan making a new movie about an atomic bomb or something like that, and Robert Oppenheimer, I believe. And I don't remember what. Oh yeah, the I believe it linked to a news article, but regardless, what it was saying was that it's Christopher Nolan was making great demands from, was it Universal? I think. They used to do Warner Bros, right? Or something like that.
Yeah,
and
Christopher Nolan used to partner with Warner Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And with this movie, it's Universal, and he made some demands. I wish I still had the Reddit thing up to know what demands they were. But I think it was like $100 million, 100+ days of shooting, stuff like that. So yeah, basically, this thread is just people talking about that. Do you want me to read over it?
No, here I've been taking a look at it, so I think I get the gist of what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it just sounds like a debate about like what Nolan's direction should be, if I'm getting that right, and like the internal politics of the studio system. I'm not, obviously privy to a lot of what's going on there, and I also don't even seek that information out terribly much, so I don't know what's happening in terms of all the machinations of the studios and who will work with who and what personal dramas have happened. But I do remember reading about how Nolan was not going to work with Warner Brothers, which was a big announcement. It was a pretty big announcement. And I think rip Warner Brothers, honestly. Like that was a poor move. That was a big mistake. I mean, it's not just about whatever film he's going to make. It's about his name brand, which he knows clearly. He clearly knows that people that he can throw his weight around here, and I'm not mad at that. He's allowed to throw his weight around, right? With his projects to get it done the way he wants it to be done. He's kind of solidified his role in the Hollywood system that way, and that's fine with me. I'm not going to get mad at him for that. Always got to negotiate the best deal you can. So, yeah, that's interesting. Now, I think him making another World War II movie as a Nolan, I'm not sure if I can. No, I just have a personal connection with Nolan just because that was kind of how I got into film, through his sort of middle of career films. And I don't know. He's kind of lost a lot of magic to me as of late. His films have been too I feel like he's trying so hard for this Bond film that he really wants so bad. And on top of that, he's messing with ideas that I think are ambitious in a way that I can understand why it would scare studios, because what's the film? His latest film. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name
Tenet?
of it. Tenet, yeah. With Tenet, you had this quality of they spent a lot of money marketing this film. It did well, relatively speaking, for it being a pandemic film. And they pushed it hard. But like, did it resonate with audiences? Like, is it at this point like damaging Nolan's brand long term? I think he's kind of venturing into that territory where he's trying to be this blockbuster filmmaker. I remember even reading about an interview where he talks about film sound. No, I watched a video about Nolan's sound mixing, because I've noticed this problem as of late as well, where his sound mixing will very, very much so muddy the dialogue, and I could never understand it, because it never seems like a creative choice. It just seems like a choice that was made at the beginning of the film and just carried out throughout, but it didn't accentuate anything. It just muddied my ability to hear the dialogue, which for a Christopher Nolan film, bruh, it's not like you're making mood films. Like, you gotta You gotta give me some dialogue action, because I literally will not understand the film if I can't hear what's happening. So yeah, I can understand people's skittishness about him lately. I do think whoever picks him up will ultimately benefit, at least in the short term. I just hope that with this World War II film, this bomb film, that he doesn't... It sounds more like a historically accurate film as far as I can tell, which means he's restraining himself to reality, which I think is actually a good thing, because I kind of miss his smaller endeavors. His budget is $100 million, is pretty large for that kind of movie. I'm not sure if I understand why he needs that much money. If he's going to literally explode some bomb somewhere, would not surprise me.
I can just imagine, like, when you first mentioned this, I haven't heard of this film, but I can just imagine that, like, the climax, you're gonna some like gigantic spectacle with the bomb actually going off, and like something introspective from probably Oppenheimer's point of view at the same time. And
yeah.
Here's more light on the agreement. It's $100 million in marketing. Wait, $100 million. Nolan's deal reportedly includes total creative control, around $100 million budget, $100 million in marketing.
Yeah, so
20%.
Usually marketing is the same amount as your film budget. So usually you double the film's budget to get the marketing number. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. 20% of first dollar gross. Universal can't release any other movies for 3 weeks before or after his movie. And his movie will play in theaters exclusively for 100 days before it goes to streaming.
Okay, so this boy is trying to pull a Disney on everyone. Okay, that's actually insane. Now, that I can understand pissing everyone off. That's a little bit ambitious, don't you think? I mean, $200 million. I mean, Marvel doesn't even... I mean, depending on the film, they don't even get $200 million. So,
wait. It doesn't look like Christopher Nolan went to people. People went to him. It says in this article... Last week, studio heads, including Universal's Donna Langley, Sony's Tom Rothman, and Paramount's Jim Giannopoulos, made the trek to Christopher Nolan's compound in the Hollywood Hills. What? You would think that, if you're asking for money, you would go to them, you know what I'm saying? You would just leave your home and go to wherever, but no. They went to him.
Yeah, so Black Panther... So, first of all, Black Panther opening made $202 million, which tells you something about the amount of money that Nolan is asking for. Think about Black Panther's opening, right? Being $202 million. Let's see, so... the budget, though...
By the way, Apple Studios is also trying to get in on it, but it didn't happen.
Huh. Well, Apple has a lot of money to throw around. Maybe it's the streaming clause that.
Yeah, if you look at that's part of the Reddit thing. If you look down a little more, it says, quote, oh, I can't see that. It says, quote, so he's really negotiating with Sony, who may or may not agree. Oh wait, I'm reading the wrong part. Oh, he's shooting himself in the foot by excluding Apple, Netflix, and Amazon by design. I don't know what he's talking about because Apple was there. So I don't know, maybe it's referring to something that was before.
So yeah, he's asking for Marvel money, which is he is Christopher Nolan, but if it's a movie about Oppenheimer, I'm not sure. I just don't understand the connection.
What kind of money, Yeah, will it make the Marvel money?
Right. Yeah. Sure. Push back if it's
odd because you would think that if he's going for a big play, he would do something that he's known for doing, you know what I'm saying, which is not making a film about Robert Oppenheimer,
Yeah, or do something about Albert Einstein instead, a name people actually recognize. My familiarity with Oppenheimer is mostly that he has the same birthday as me. That's mostly how I know of him. All right, but if you did Albert Einstein, who's also related somehow to the maybe less dramatically important to the atomic bomb, but that's probably going to get more people to know what you're talking about than Oppenheimer.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really, I don't fully understand his reasoning here, but I mean, whatever it is, probably has some big kabooms somewhere or another, because there's no other way I can think of it costing that much money. Which, okay, the streaming part is probably the part that annoys people the most, and the theater part, that's probably what annoys the industry the most. I am fine with him pushing back on those fronts, because I think there needs to be some pushing there to maintain the sacred space. But bro, come on. You've got to do something more than just trying to bully your way around. You have to actually like be participating in the means by which cinema will continue to live. So with the thing I was saying about mixing, right? His reasoning is that he doesn't want to pander to theaters that have poor sound quality. He said well-balanced theaters are going to have, like, you're going to be able to hear the dialogue in theaters that actually care about their audio, and he said he's done pandering to them. Okay, well, there's something called the reality of the situation, right? And, like, you know, like, the fact that I went to a relatively large AMC theater, and I had problems with hearing the dialogue in all the scenes. I'm sure that you're right, and that's that theater's problem, and every theater's, you know, physical construction is going to affect its sound quality and blah 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 blah, right? But you're focusing on the wrong problem. That is a problem for 10 years down the line when you've won the culture over. You know what I mean? That's not a problem for now. Right now, you're trying to fight for your life, which means you should be, Mr. Nolan, starting Nolan Cinemas. Or you should be partnering with a cinema and offering your name brand to them so that they can, you know, market better, and you can work with them, you know, in terms of modernizing film marketing. But instead,
cinemas would be illegal, though, right?
I mean, these days I'm not sure what is. I mean, if they're being consistent, it wouldn't be illegal. But I don't know. I don't know anymore these days what producer and production separations there actually are with cinema. I mean, Netflix is allowed to produce and you know, distribute their films at the same time. It's just on a streaming platform instead of a theater. But I don't know. The courts are crazy. Who knows what would happen? I would test the boundary at least. You know, I would test the boundary and say, well, at least I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring here and make everyone, you know, question where cinema should be going. You know, that's my 2 cents. So this sounds like he's focusing on not quite the right problem still. You know, like he's just not fully understanding where to throw his weight in order to have a long-term impact, because I'm fairly certain that's what he wants, is a long-term impact. I don't think it's just about his films. From hearing him talk about these things, I think he's kind of sad at the lack of reverence, right, for watching movies in general. That is more prominent as of late, but this is not the way to win that culture war, right? This is not the winning strategy, I don't think. I think this push pressure in ways that you might actually just hurt theater chains, like mixing your audio in a stubborn way might just hurt the theater chains that are kind of crippled to begin with. So that's my hot take. Okay, last one. I'll be quick about this one. This one is from Ben. What's this one about?
This is basically someone summarizing a video by someone named, I don't know who Edward Norton is, but this person basically saying that the fault with you know, things in theaters, it's not Netflix that's putting pressure on theaters, it's theaters that are damaging themselves.
Oh yes. So Edward Norton, okay, yeah. So Edward Norton is a pretty big name actor. He's like famous for like Fight Club, Moonrise Kingdom, and I think he's a very talented person, and I think he loves cinema. Whenever you hear him talk, he's very. There are some actors you can tell it's more of a job and a personality than others, and I think he has more of a devotion to the craft. So yeah, I don't know much about him other than that, though. Yes, so he's saying this kind of just directly melts into what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I think he's kind of missing the mark as well in terms of what the most important fight here is. Like, it's not, the theatrical experience is good enough to latch onto for now. You know, I just think, you know, I mean, maybe I'm used to it to some extent. Like, you know, if I go to a small theater here in New York, like a small independent theater, the quality is garbage compared to like a chain theater, which is, you know, I mean, if I'm going to a boutique place and I'm going to pay just as much, but I'm going to get a smaller screen, a really cruddy sound system. Every time I walk into an AMC theater, I realize just how much more they are on their game. All right. So, you know, in terms of audience experience, I think it's good enough for now. I have been to some chain theaters where I was uncomfortable, or, you know, I thought that the projection quality wasn't as good. Yeah, brightness sometimes can be an issue. I agree with that. This is the first time I've ever heard someone actually complain about that, but I have noticed that. So that's interesting. And I agree with all those things, but those things are such minutia compared to the larger, like, you know, like the difference between being in a theater and me watching in my living room is so gigantic. And like the experience is so different in terms of me feeling like I'm watching it in its true medium when I'm in the theater than here, that I think it's just a loss to try to convince people right now that these changes are absolutely necessary in order for cinema to move forward. I think it's more contrasting with me being at home. Like me, I have a semi-proper projection system ish. I mean, God knows in the AV world, I mean, it's never enough. But you know, I mean, most people are watching these. Most Edward Norton. Most people watch our movies on an iPad or a laptop. So digest that fact and put your energy in getting them off the laptop and into the theater. And I think that's more helpful than in the theater to a better theater experience. That can come later easily enough, I think. I'm not mad at his take because I think there's some truth in it. I just don't think it's you know, the way to put your energy. Like we were talking about earlier, if you had a live orchestra in theater, that would do leaps and bounds more than, you know, like spending however many million. I mean, do you know how expensive? I mean, he may know, but like those theater screens are mad expensive. Like an AMC theater screen, you know, pretty large, or a Regal, like, you know, a chain cinema screen, those things can be like $1 million, like literally in of themselves, you know.
Wow,
so,
I was not expecting you to say that.
Yeah, I think I've seen, like, you know, anywhere from like $200,000 to $1 million, depending on the size and quality of the screen. So, you know, these things literally have silver in them. Like that's why they're called the silver screen. It's called the silver screen, right? They literally have silver lining inside of it, and it's heavy. Like these things are literally like dense and heavy pieces of material. I'm sure the cost of putting it up is not insignificant as well, and calibrating it, all the kind of stuff. So, I mean, I wouldn't tell them to replace, because the brightness problem literally is replacing the screen. I don't think the projection systems are the bigger problem. It's probably the screen. Either that, or if it's the projection system, that's also a lot of money. A digital projector might be $200,000 per theater. So, you know, I think that $1.2 million would be better spent in advertising and more efficient in advertising.
They should use the old LCD screen with a light behind it trick.
Yeah, to get the fake brightness. Yeah, I don't know. That's my hot take.